Alright, so here we are in our lesson 11, and this lesson is named Indices and Radicals. So, before we go into this topic, let's have a quick review about our last lesson, which is about ratio. So, quick review. So, ratio is expressed using the colon symbol. It can, like for example, we have 7 over thirds. 7 is to 3, and it can be expressed either 7 or thirds or 7 divided by 3. It just means that the two quantities are in the ratio of 7 to 3, and it can either be written 7 over 3 to 1, or if you want to move it to the other side, you're just going to reciprocate it. You're gonna swap the fractions. So that's it. And if we want a more in-depth lesson about this, just check our last video about this. So here, so in the earlier videos, we've seen that for any number a, it denotes that a is equal to a squared is equal to a times a cubed is equals to a times a times a, and a raised to the fourth is equal to a times a times a times a. And yeah, I hope that you can see the pattern, right? If you're going to multiply the same number, you can have it like on a cube. So like it's going to be on the exponent. All right. Okay. So yeah, let's move on. So next we have different kinds of law of exponents. So law number 1. If you have the same base, but you're gonna multiply it by a different exponent, you're just simply going to add the exponents. Let's say we have x cubed times x squared. So the answer of that, you're just simply going to add the exponents, which is 3 plus 2, and that will give you x raised to 5. So next, we have a similar law, but if you're going to divide, you're just simply gonna subtract the fraction. You're just going to subtract it. Let's say you have the same problem. So x cubed minus divided by x squared, that will give you x raised to 3 minus 2, and that will give you the answer of x, or x raised to 1. Okay, so let's have a little note. What do you think is a raised to 0? Do you have any idea? So clearly, let's have let's have the same exponent. If we're gonna have a raised to m divided by a raised to m, like when you have similar, if the numerator and the denominator are similar and you're gonna divide it, that will always give you 1. And if we use our law on our second law there, if we are gonna use our second law, m minus m, when we uh, subtract the same number, that will give us 0, right? So it will give us a raised to the 0. So this means that a raised to the 0 is equal to 1, or a specific number or an integer raised to any a raised to 0 is always equal to 1. Okay, so next let's have our third law. If we have this, um we have a raised to m, and we have a raised to m, uh, and it's also raised to n. It will give you a raised to m n, a raised to m n. So if we have that, here we are just going to simply um we're just simply going to multiply it. A raised to m raised to n, that is equal to a raised to m n. Like for example, we have x squared, then it's on a parenthesis, then it's raised to the cube, and if we have that, we are just going to multiply it. So 3 times 2, that will give us a raised to the 6, or x raised to the 6 if you want to. It's always good to have a little bit of examples on the screen, but I'm sorry I didn't add that, so I should add it next time. Next, if we have different bases but they have the same exponent, we just can combine them. We just can easily combine them. And yeah, so A, B, so, and you just combine them. Like for example, we have x cube, y cube. So you're gonna combine x and y and have the same exponent on that. So, like, it's just like a way of simplifying it so that it can be easily be solved. Alright, next one. We don't have as really the next one. Let's have an example first so that we can go on. We can, you know. Okay, here let's have this example: x squared y cubed over z divided by xy over z. 5 So we know that when we when we when we have when we have we are going to divide fractions, we can if we're going to divide fractions, so we're just gonna flip it. All right, we're gonna flip this when we are going to divide fractions. It's like a rule, okay? But when we flip it, we have now the multiplication symbol. So now we can now combine them, and now we can use our different types of law. So we can use law number 2 on this x squared and this x. So x squared divided by x. So that's 2 minus 1. That will give us x. Next, we have 3 minus 1. That will give us 2. And it will and 5 minus 1. When we don't see any exponent, that will give you 1. Okay, so now there we go. So that's the final answer. So it's easy if we have the different laws. We can we need to learn the basics first so that we can solve easily on the next topic. Okay, all right. So we have negative integer in this index. So next we have the next law number 4. So when we have a raised to negative 1, it will give you 1 over that number of a. So let's say we have x raised to negative 1, so that will give you 1 over x. Let's say we have 5 minus negative 1, that will give you 1 over 5. And next law, we have law number 5. When we have, let's say n, so you're just gonna put that on the denominator, and this will become positive. This negative will become positive on the denominator, and you're just gonna over it with 1. Okay. So yeah. So let's say we have x raised to negative 5. So you have 1 over x raised to 5. Next we have law number 6. Okay, this law is fixed. A raised to negative infinity is always 0. It's always 0, okay? Because it's just what it is. Just keep in mind that is always 0, okay? Alright, so next let's have another example. Also, this is a big one. X raised to 5y cubed, x raised to 5y squared, z raised to negative cube over x raised to negative 1, y over y raised to 4, z times z raised to 5 divided by s. Okay, I'm too tired to read all of that. So when we divide any number, you're just gonna on two different fractions, you're just simply gonna reciprocate it. So when we reciprocate it, it will flip. The bottom fraction will go on the top fraction will go on the bottom, and let's combine all of them first. Actually, let's not combine all of them first. So we have similar variables. Variables is what we call the x, y, and z, or w, any letter. So that's what we call the variable. So when y squared times y raised to negative 1, we know that that's the first law. When we multiply the same variable with have the different exponent, so you're just simply gonna add the exponent, so that will give you 2 plus negative 1, that will give you 1. And let's have on the bottom also, let's see, we have something here. So x, then we also have x here, so negative 1 plus 2, so that will give you 1 also. So what we have here next is z, 5 times z raised to 2, z squared, so we're just going to simply add those exponents. So 5 plus 2, that will give us 7. Then now we can simplify this. We have our x here, and we have also the x in the bottom. So when we multiply, we add, but now when we divide, we're going to subtract. So x raised to 5 divided by x, that will give you 4. Since 5 minus 1 is 4. Now here, if you see what's the bigger exponent, you will only, and when you have the bigger exponent and you have the small exponent on, let's say, the numerator, the bigger exponent is where you're gonna put it left. Okay, so what you can see here, right? So we have 4 minus 1, so that will give you 3, right? So here we have 3 in the bottom instead on the top because y over 4 is greater than y raised to 1. Okay, so next we have this, so we have the same example. Z 7. Okay, so 7 minus negative 3. So those two negatives will form into a positive. So 7 plus 3, that will give you z raised to 10. So that's the final answer because we can't simplify it even more right now. Okay, next we have rational indices. So when we have a raised to 1 over n, that's that you have now the rationals. So um let's say we have x raised to 1/2. So that will give you the square root of x. So we have this specific formula here. Okay, so now let's say we have 81 raised to 1 over 4. So if we're gonna, flip it, so it will become the fourth root of 81. So if we're gonna going to plug that in the calculator, it will give you positive or negative 3. Since what's on the square root, it will give you it will give you it. It will give you both positive and negative answers except if we have this. So I have negative 27 raised to 1/3. So if you're gonna flip it, it will give you the cube root of negative 27. But remember that if we have the negative, it will give you sometimes the imaginary numbers, right? So it we will only consider the real numbers, so that will give us negative 3. It also depends on the exponent. If your exponent or your index, what we see here, this is called the index, like 3. So if your index is um, if your index is even, it will give you a positive answer. But if your index is negative, if your index is odd, it will give you a negative answer. Okay, next, just keep that in mind. So we have this, let's say we have a raised to m over n, so that just the nth root of a raised to m. Easy as that. We have 27 raised to 2/3. So if you're going to follow the formula, it will give you that. So you can simplify that. So you, you can square the 27. It will give you 729. And if you're gonna plug 729, the cube root of 729 on the calculator, that will give you 9. Okay, so that's it for our lesson today. So this is like a very long kind of lesson, but it serves as a basic foundation for the next upcoming topics because we're gonna deal with exponents soon. Like, yeah, so this is just so we need to learn basic maths 2, we need to learn basic maths to solve the more complicated ones, okay? So actually this is now chapter 3. So, if I have the worksheets for chapter 2, I'm just gonna leave that on the description. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. I'll see you next time. Thanks for your attention.